I'm Simon Watts, a wildlife cameraman and filmmaker, and I've been given the privilege to make this and 5 more vlogs based on and around the beautiful River Cole. This is a partnership led by Warwickshire Wildlife Trust called Love Your River Cole, hashtag Lyric or abbreviated Lyric, and funded by the Green Recovery Challenge Fund, which is in conjunction funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund. Hi and welcome to the 6th and final vlog of Love Your River Cole. As the final vlog, we're going to concentrate today on the wildlife of the Cole. Nature you might experience taking a gentle stroll down the banks of the Cole. And enthusing people to the nature of the Cole is a massive part of what Warwickshire Wildlife Trust aims to do. Certainly as important as the conservation itself, in fact hand in hand. So let's head underwater and start with the little stuff. Looking into the clearer sections of the Cole on the banks or on footpaths running over the river, people quite often notice what appears to be very small fish. Well, you're right, and these are one of the smallest fish we have here in the UK. These are minnows. These little guys happily survive in shallow sections, eating larval food and plant matter. The patterns and the shapes that they make when they swim together, often shoaling, can be quite mesmerising. In some of the wider and deeper sections of the river, you'll find larger fish. And the Cole itself has a good number of these. These are chub. Chub can grow as long as 2 feet and reach 7 to 8 kilograms. They too feed on invertebrate life under the water, or from the surface, and plant matter. You may be able to identify chub if you look in the deeper water and notice their orange pelvic fins. One fantastic find was this freshwater mussel that I filmed in a stretch of the Cole near Chelmsley Wood. The presence of freshwater mussels indicate a good, clean watercourse. And these guys are filtration feeders, sifting through the plankton life on the riverbed. In the quieter and more still edges of the Cole, vast amounts of invertebrate life proliferate. In fact, as you'll see here, take any stretch of this type of habitat and speed it up only slightly, and you've got a real metropolis, where larval forms abound, including mayfly, caddisfly, dragon and damselfly nymph, and the larger and most noticeable inhabitants of this particular scene, the ram's horn snails. They're one of the biggest grazers of plant life in this particular habitat. And whilst this little metropolis might seem a world away from the nature above the water surface, well, the nature above certainly takes an interest in them. Try to identify if you can the long legs of the creature invading this particular scene. Stick around a little bit further in this vlog and I shall let you know when we meet the creature that these legs belong to. Like something from Jurassic Park. One thing you need to know though is that most of the larval forms you'll find here under the water are bound for an existence in the open air, nearing the end of their lives. From mayfly to caddisfly, damselfly larva and dragonfly, the names themselves suggest of an airborne end, and this is the case here. A damselfly larva emerges from the water up the stem after 3 years of existence, being the main predator of the riverbed. Just now, being midsummer, instinct tells this nymph that it's time to change, and finding a suitable spot, the partial metamorphosis begins. Slowly at first, the thorax begins to crack, and then you can see the eye and head structure moving independently as everything separates, ready to unfurl. Just now its wings are small and looking like crushed up crepe paper, but through the next hour or so, the body will pump blood to shape and form all the operational parts of a brand new damselfly. The cast-off shells of their aquatic forms left dangling on the reeds are known as exuvia. Damselflies could be seen as a smaller version of the dragonfly, but the two are completely different families. You'll see the damselfly has completely separate eyes on either side of its head, and a damselfly's wings lie along its body. Their job now, in their month of life outside of the water, is to court and mate. Along the coal itself there are many species of damselfly to discover, the common blue being the most numerous, but the red-eyed being my personal favourite. You might see the females nearby, having a much more subdued, camouflaged appearance. While spotting your damselflies on the edge of the river course, you'll be in the same territory also, where you'll find the bigger dragonflies. And whilst they might be slightly larger and carry a low buzz, please don't be fearful of these creatures. They are absolutely harmless to us. And the wonder of both damselflies and dragonflies is the sheer perfection of the design. So perfect indeed that it's remained pretty much unchanged for 300 million years. This coming year, as you walk along the banks of the Cole, don't shy away from the vast nettle patches. Having a closer look can produce some real wonders, such as these black, spiky punk rockers of the caterpillar world that throughout the course of the summer will fatten up and turn into one of the most colourful aristocrats of the butterfly world, the peacock. Well, as a last look at invertebrate life here along the riverbanks, we simply couldn't ignore mayfly. Much like the damselflies, the emergence of these airborne adults have created such amazing spectacles that have often been romanticised in poetry and literature for hundreds of years. Belonging to the order Ephemeroptera, their lives truly are ephemeral. Females may only live up to 5 minutes, whilst the males might live for a whopping 2 days. Instantly recognisable, I'm sure, to all of you. The long-necked grazer of the riverbed that is, of course, the newt swan. Another bird, though, that for me is just as iconic as the swan, and always found grazing amongst the vegetation of the riverbank, is this bird. Fantastical Yoda green legs, with incredible long weight-displacing toes, and a poker-hot orange and yellow bill. Also, the first thing you might notice, or maybe the last thing, is its white bobbing tail. This is the moorhen. The first bird, surely though, to prick everybody's conscience, especially when you think of water, has to be the ducks. And the mainstay of the ducks that you'll find on the Cole are of course the mallards. Always fantastic to get down to the river by early spring, when the chances are the mallards have already hatched their clutch of eggs. And of course, you're left with the ducklings. Each visit thereon, you can watch these little beauties grow and mature under the careful monitoring of mum and the more brightly coloured dad, who's likely to be nearby. Possibly, if you've heard the old colloquial saying, as bald as a coot, then this might trigger you to ID this bird correctly, because of its very white, bony prominence on its forehead. Coots are remarkably entertaining because of their territorial prowess, and will take on anything, even as big as a swan, should they believe it's intruding on their space. Now on to two of our most colourful birds, and first, the one with the most inappropriate name. If you're wondering why this bird was never called the yellow wagtail, well, that's because a yellow wagtail already exists. The grey wagtail, though, is predominantly found by water, favouring the mass insect prey available, as you can see with this individual and its beak full of mayfly. Our second small colourful bird of the river course could only ever be the kingfisher. As iconic a bird of this habitat as the mallard and the swan, the kingfisher sadly rarely invades our hearts because of its often timid and elusive nature. as it speeds like a mechanical toy, only inches sometimes from the water surface. You can tell male and female kingfishers apart by looking at their bill. The male has a solid black bill, whilst the female has an orangey element to the lower bill. Well, if you remember a little earlier on, as we were submerged under the water surface and admiring the metropolis of invertebrate life, our space was invaded by two long grey legs. Well, here is the bird that those legs belong to. Surely the tallest bird on our river course, if not even in the UK today, it's the grey heron. This tall, powerful fisherman of the river is truly striking when encountered. Most of the time it'll explode, startled from the undergrowth in front of you, flying away on incredibly large curved wings. Or maybe even you might catch a glimpse of this, a heronry in a nest where the slow maturing punk rocker chicks can provide enormous entertainment. But we mustn't ignore the fact that the grey heron now, and only just now, has a competitor equal to it in size and skill. This is the great white egret. And it's moved in from the European continent and the Mediterranean over the last 20 years, to the point that now the coal is experiencing its first individuals. We have, of course, already had the smaller cousin of the great white egret with us for the last 10 to 15 years. This startling little snow-white bird, the little egret, is now a true resident of the River Cole along all of its stretches. It's a busy bird and actively hunts down its fish prey on the move. It can be quite often seen dashing here and there, physically chasing the prey down. If not this, you might catch a glimpse of its bright primary yellow feet, which it gradually waggles amongst the rocks on the riverbed in a hope to scare out small minnow prey. All the birds you've seen up to now are pretty much residents of the riverbank. You can't leave this little ID guide though without mentioning the amazing African migrants. This pair of little birds both come from sub-Saharan Africa. The first and more stealthy one you may notice from a previous vlog. This is the reed warbler. The second long-distance migrant is also a bird that has plenty to say, and this one, thankfully, likely to be sitting more out in the open than the reed warbler. This is the sedge warbler, and you should be able to correctly identify them by that wonderful cream white supercilium or eyebrow. Throughout April, May and most of June, these birds will be constantly on the go defending their territories. And if you give yourself a little chance just to listen to the natural world around you, I'm sure that at certain points along the coal you will catch the song of one of these two birds, or maybe even both. Here is a creature we would love to hear about, especially if you spot one on the River Cole. This is the water vole, and our final member of our ID guide today. If this little furry torpedo is ever spotted on the coal, please do contact the Trust through any of its social media and let us know of your sighting. The water vole remains our most endangered mammal in Britain today, and we would like to think, with the continuing conservation work, one day soon they'll be back on the coal itself. Right, well that's it guys. It's been a wonderful journey over the last year to bring you these vlogs of Love Your River Cole, #LyricSmallI. Please do engage with this wonderful watercourse that connects so many communities right over the industrial heart of the West Midlands. Wishing you all a wonderful year of nature spotting on the coal. Thanks everyone, and bye for now.